Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Sorry that I am late. Let me pull myself up on the feed here. Oh, my hoodie is all like messed up here. What is this? Oh, toothpaste? Dried toothpaste. Nice. Anyway, how are y'all doing? Um, Sorry that I'm late. Like I said, this has been difficult to fit in this stream in the past couple of weeks as I'm working on a few things, but guys don't, I got the newsletter that I'm working on a few pieces, and then my son is finishing up one of his soccer seasons, so we're going to lots of practices. We went to two practices back to back today, um, and we've been at a practice every day this week. I'm tired. I'm tired. So just bear with me. This show will be back on track. Of course, I'll be on the Majority Report and Leftist Mafia tomorrow. Um, the show will be back on track very soon. Honestly, I am sort of waiting, like I said previously, for like this election to be over, so we can get back into a swing of things and talk about what needs to be talked about because it seems like everyone's just waiting for this election. I don't really feel like, I mean, what is there to this what is there to say to you guys at this point? You know? But let's take some calls. Um let's start by opening up the phone lines, which I forgot to sign into. Um, I oh shit. I don't know how that happened. I wasn't even signed in yet, and someone was calling in. I would love to know how they did that. All right, let's do it though. We already got a call. Let's jump right in. Uh, hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? It says it's connecting. All right, so let's hang up on this person. I'll call back in. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it is Kowalski.
Hey, Kowalski, how are you?
Um, Defeated feeling. I will keep this brief, but today I was in a phone call. It was a tele town hall with they did a mass call out our Republican senator to a bunch of registered Republicans, and I got to participate in this town hall. I was so excited to get to ask my question, but they screen for questions. So that's
Ah.
probably why I didn't get to ask mine.
What was your
Um,
question?
it was going to be something that I thought a lot of people would want to know about. Since Donald Trump is calling for trade wars and increasing tariffs, and since the Republicans say they want a balanced budget, and because they say they want to do tax cuts, how are we going to be able to fund Social Security and other
Hmm.
entitlements? So obviously they couldn't get to my question, but somehow we got to what are we going to do about the Venezuelans?
Hmm. Well,
What are we
Kowalski, it
going?
sounded like you were looking for a gotcha. That's why. Y- y-
Excuse me for having a moniker of a belief, a shimmering glimmer of hope that they would be able to
Sir,
answer one real question.
you clearly had a gotcha ready to go.
I did. It was like I. This is what Sam Cedar must feel like when attacking libertarians, or you when you attack those cryptocurrency people. Like I was ready. There was blood, but I was denied my sustenance, and now I am furious.
Well, You'll have to try again. I wouldn't give up on that one.
No, because Pete Ricketts has done this to me as an individual, I will make it my mission to destroy him.
I
I will
think. I
cause the
think.
rivers.
I mean,
Go ahead.
your question is one that many people have. I'm sure. So I don't understand why they wouldn't take your question. That's bizarre.
Because the questions that were being asked were like softball. It wasn't a softball question. It was wiffle ball questions. Like, um, so one of the ladies that called in asked about what we were going to do about these Venezuelans because she saw on a town 40 miles north of a different town a school bus that had a bunch of Venezuelans on it, all military aged, and it just seemed suspicious that they were all in these school buses together. Do you know what
Mm.
Nebraska is known for?
What?
You think Nebraska, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Kowalski.
Okay, what do I do
Corn.
for a living? Yeah, corn, corn. Guess what we would have a bunch of migrant workers doing in the middle of summer in the middle of Nebraska? I don't know. Maybe they were doing something agricultural related. Turns out they almost certainly were because we have
Mm.
seed corn in this state, which means, oh, yes, they're going to be out there pulling weeds because you can't use certain herbicides or fungicides on weeds that are in seed corn because it's very special. It's a specialty crop. This is so basic knowledge for anybody in the state of Nebraska. I would imagine only a few select people in Omaha would not know what I am talking about. But did our senator clarify to this lovely woman that is only a county away from me her misunderstanding? No. This is all because of the open border policy from Kamala Harris as the border czar. I am going to wage my own war against these people. They
I
are
mean,
wasting our time.
I think you should. I think I think your question would have been it would have been very interesting to find out what they would say to a question like that. Um, because we know what their answer is. They don't have one. They don't have an answer. I mean,
Oh,
their
by
answer.
cutting
I
taxes,
mean,
don't you know we bring in more revenue? Oh, don't you know that if we do a trade war like we did in 2018 when farmers were in their worst financial position in 40 years, that it's going to magically work this time? These
I mean,
people are jokes.
I do think their answer that they don't want to say would be something like, "Oh well, we're getting rid of it."
Yeah, that would have been awesome had I gotten the quote of, "Oh, well, that's because we plan to cut Social Security and kill your grandparents." Oh,
Mm,
well, at least you're being honest with me.
yeah, at least that's the least they could do.
Look, I can take, you being evil towards me, but just don't be a liar and don't be a hypocrite. If you're going to send me to the camps, just be honest with me. But no.
I mean, I'm choking here now, but it's a good analogy, especially today when we got basically Donald Trump out there saying uh that that he what was it that the report with his exact wording, something like he wants some German like generals, like that was what Hitler had, some good German generals. That's the reporting that's out there, and he needs something like that. Amazing,
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, just what I want is I need my own General Halder who will be with me in the bunker till the end. That's so insane.
I mean,
I must admit, sometimes, and I will end it on this. I question whether or not I live in like an echo chamber, and if maybe you guys are like exaggerating a little bit about what the opposition wants to do, like if there's something like that, and it's just like no, these people are as simple as you think they are. They are as evil as you think they are, and they need to be defeated. Otherwise, the light of the republic will die. So So please,
Wow,
folks, get
Kowalski, you're
out there and vote.
saying it so beautifully. The light of the republic will die. I mean, you should write a script for a movie. That was great.
Well, look, I know we are living in the twilight of the republic, and it will either devolve into barbarism or we will see the embracing light of a social democratic future. I hope to Christ we see the latter, but if these freaks win, we will have the former, and it will not be
Yeah.
good.
I mean, I don't even know what I'll be honest, I don't even know what to, like, sort of, think right now with how everything's going because, I mean, every time I think the Kamala Harris campaign is getting it back together, like, just for example, a couple days ago, they had Tim Walz out there, calling calling Elon Musk a
Oh,
dipshit,
I
and
loved that. Just you got Elon Musk out there dancing around, hopping like a dipshit. Like
I
that
mean,
was perfect.
the crowd went wild too. The crowd roared. They loved it. And then they turn around and do things like send Richie Torres to to campaign in Michigan. I don't know what they're I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. It seems fairly simple to just get this together and finish out these last 2 weeks. I get that there was bumps in the road. I'll be nice and call it that. But
Bumps in the road. I'm pretty sure we almost lost a transmission in that fucking crater. These guys really they could have just kept up
I
the weird
I'm
stuff.
trying to
They
try to be nice.
yeah. I am still 80% confident Harris has this, but this should have been a layup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Just unleash walls upon the Great Lakes and we'll be fine.
I thought they had it too. They started out so strong. It's been depressing to see. It truly has been depressing to see how they've handled everything. But
Well, don't you worry.
we
We
only got
got
about 2
Liz
weeks
Cheney
left.
in Pennsylvania. I'm sure Liz Cheney will win us those Republican women in Pennsylvania. It's going to be great.
I know that in the swing states, it's just they've been clamoring for Liz Cheney. And Dick too. It's just been like you could hear them screaming out their names, calling out for they go Cheney, Cheney. You hear it too. You could hear it all the way from Nebraska, right, Kowalski?
Oh, I'm
Hello.
sorry. My eardrums are on the verge of bursting. I am filled with so much rage at the moment.
Oh, okay. Thought I lost you for a second.
Yeah, no. Okay, hold on. This will be the last thing I will mention, and then I'll let others, call in or whatever. But in that town hall thing, this got mentioned on three separate occasions, and again, there was no pushback from it. And by the third time, the senator started leaning into it. George Soros funding. When I hear that, my immediate thoughts is that they're being anti-Semitic. Is that an appropriate response for me to have on that? Because I mean, yes, he does donate to it, but I mean, like, he's not even the top three on the Democrat side. I mean, Bloomberg donates way more money than Soros does, but you never hear anyone saying, "Oh, the Bloomberg money out there."
Right. Well, yeah. You don't. No, I mean it's clearly a dog whistle. They've made it quite clear. I mean, is there a conversation to be had? Obviously, about the money that pours into into campaigns, into politics, and how ridiculous it is, and that there's real issue there. Absolutely, absolutely. Is George Soros part of that problem? Of course, just like all the other billionaires and rich people, like Elon Musk, for example. Um, but they just want to talk about George Soros because he's like, as their memes and social media graphics and AI generated photos show, He's the guy who to them is pulling the strings. He's the puppet master, right? I mean, yes, this is all anti-Semitic sort of rhetoric here when they're talking about him. Again, certainly possible to talk about him in that way, in terms of his money into campaigns and politics, but the way they do it is definitely not the way to do it because they're doing it for different reasons.
I would agree with that assessment. That's where I was coming from. But all right, I'm going to head to my basement where I have a computer not connected to the internet and start making some plans. So
Mm.
I've said too much. Goodbye.
Take care, Kowalski. Let's go back to the phones. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I forgot to drop the number. 646-303-7337. 646-303-7337. All right, let's take the next call. And I will also read super chats, by the way. And your Twitch, whatever you want to drop there. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
How's it going, Matt? My name's Terrence, and I'm calling from Houston, Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're a little bit muffled. What's your name?
Oh, give me 1 second. I took my headphones off. My name's Terrence.
Hello? Hello? Uh-oh, we lost him. Hello? Hello? Uh-oh. I don't think the tech issues are on my side. All right, let me refresh here. Just to be safe. 646-303-7337. 646-303-7337. What an easy to remember number. I just realized. I did. Oh, patreon.com/Matt Binder. We're gonna be completely back in the swing of things. I'm gonna be launching the paid newsletter section. We're going full throttle. I've been getting things ready. I assure you, the reason I look so tired is because I've been very busy. Let me shout out. We did have a new Patreon subscriber, at least one new Patreon subscriber since the last show. What is this? Let's see. DQ Mill, thank you so much for becoming a patron. And Tracy Eva, thank you so much for becoming a patron as well. I really appreciate it. Patreon.com/Matt Binder. Let's go back to the phones. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Will, calling from Iowa.
Hey, Will from Iowa. How you doing? What would you like to talk about?
Oh, a ton of stuff. I mean, the general state of the world. But let's start with single issue voters and people who are like, my cause is the most important thing. And the fact that Kamala Harris isn't addressing my cause or is addressing it in a way that I don't think is enough is reason to not vote for her.
Sure, right.
Like,
I think
yeah.
I agree with you on 99% of the issues of that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like my brother is an Israeli. I mean, he emigrated to Israel from America with his Jewish wife. And all I see lately is Kamala Harris is not addressing the crisis in Palestine enough. And we're going to lose Michigan because she can't say fuck Israel. Well, like, we can't say fuck Israel, man. Like, that's not an option.
What? Hold on. What? Hold on. I'm confused. You said what? Say this again.
Okay.
I was expecting a different.
I see a lot of people saying we are going to lose the Arab vote in Michigan because of Kamala Harris's refusal to have a hard line on Israel in
I actually do think that's possible that she'll lose Michigan because of this issue, and This is one the 1% I was talking about before. Where listen, I wouldn't do it, and I tell people that if you're voting, this is not an issue. This can't be your one issue. This can't be your single issue, because neither candidate is good on this. Like you can't choose based on
Exactly.
this. You gotta just remove this. This is my opinion, of course. You have to
Of course.
if Israel Palestine, and it is a huge issue for me. It is derailed my year, honestly, in terms of my show, what I do. I needed to step away from it for the first time in
Word.
my career because I just could not. I was just tired of doing it. I just did not want to see what I was seeing over and over again, and have to
Word.
have the
And we,
same.
I mean, we all appreciate your voice, my man. Like we need you
Right.
around.
No, I appreciate it. No,
I've,
but
you
I'm
know,
not trying to make this about me. I'm just putting myself in the conversation here. But so like I was, so even so coming from that, I'm saying this. It's a very important issue to me. It
word.
cannot be an issue when you're deciding who to vote for because unfortunately, um, neither candidate has anything to offer you on this.
Right.
Um, I
So
listen.
my
I
problem,
understand.
my, go ahead.
I do understand people who aren't going to vote at all. Again, not my not what I would suggest, but I would say I prefer them to not vote at all than to do the
Okay.
bizarre thing that some people are doing in voting for Trump. That's one that I don't understand because I'm
Right,
not telling
and
you.
it's like
Yeah.
the third party vote, right? I mean, my dad is a hardcore single issue abortion voter, and he's voting for Trump, which makes no fucking sense. I mean, my dad is a smart man. He's a physician and great dude in a lot of ways, other than that he's
A
reported,
physi-
a
a
Republican.
physician a physician who's anti-abortion.
Yeah, he's also
That's
a super conservative Christian.
mm, seems like the job would I don't know what exactly he does, so maybe it
Buddy,
doesn't.
I'm in therapy. It
Okay,
doesn't
right,
make sense to
yes.
me either.
Yeah. It seems like it'd be like I'm a mechanic who refuses to work on cars or something like that. Like
It's
it's
crazy because
yes.
so he is not a 100% ban on abortion person. He is a Reagan, exceptions person. But that does. I mean, we've seen from how that works, and it doesn't. I mean, that's just. It's like he's also a trickle down economics guy, and I'm like, well, Dad, what about Sam Brownback in Kansas? He did it, and what happened? And my dad's like, oh yeah, that's weird.
Mm.
Yeah. So therapy, like I said. But
Yeah, I hear you.
so single issue voters just don't make sense to me. Like, and especially okay, my argument back on the issue with Israel is: do you really think that Donald Trump would be better on Israel? Is there any world where Donald Trump actually believes Arabs are people? Like Kamala Harris, believes Arabs are people,
Uh,
wants this war to end,
uh,
wants the hostages home.
I honestly, it's hard for me to say how she is on this issue because I listen. I do feel that she is beholden to the Biden administration up to a point, but then also we are now 2 weeks out from the election. Her becoming president of the United States hinges on some of these issues and just at least giving
You're right.
lip service
You're
to
right.
it, and she's not,
Matt,
and she's not. So
can
I
we
do, I
can we
do, I
con-
do wonder.
can we concede that the war in the Middle East, as widespread as it is now to Lebanon, is not the large scale war that it could have been?
I don't know. I really don't know what the U.S. has done here. I do know
We don't. You're right. We can't. So we don't
yeah,
have a counterfactual, right? We don't
right.
have a counterfactual. So my belief is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are people who want peace, want people to live the lives they want to live.
I, I, I,
Um,
I do see where you're coming from, and we're on the same side that I think Trump on a number of issues, including Israel and Palestine. He will be worse on all the issues, and I think he'll be worse on Israel and Palestine. But at the same time, I will say on this one issue, it is hard for me to. I think the safest thing to do is just be like, you can't vote based on this issue because neither of them are going to be in your interests here.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Trump will potentially, I do believe, he will potentially be worse. He will Bibi Netanyahu clearly prefers Trump for reasons that obviously should worry people, but at the same time, I look at the footage, I look at the bodies, I look at the complete devastation and destruction of Gaza, and I'm like, how do you tell someone, look at that, it can be worse, and then they go, oh, well, like it's as bad as it can get. So I think the safest thing to do is like,
it's not as bad as it can get, brother. It's not as bad as it can get. Like, really? Like, this is horrible. I hear you. It's bad. It is not as bad as it can get. We have not reached even a tenth of as bad as it can get. We have two nuclear-armed powers in shouting distance of each other. We are at a terrible place. The world has always been a terrible place.
Right, but the Biden administration completely supports Israel in an attack on Iran if they were to do so. I mean, this is like, again, and Trump would as well. I mean, that's this. We're in a rock, stuck between a rock.
Dude, Trump already killed a guy in Iran. It happened. Right. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
well, the Biden administration.
Do you think the Biden administration isn't tamping down this conflict? You're crazy.
Every leak, everything we've heard says that they haven't. It's all been like stuff to the press. Like, okay, Trump will be more openly in rhetoric in full support. But like, have you seen the press conferences with the Biden administration? Have you seen what these guys say and do? And there are no red lines for Israel. There is nothing that Israel has to do to uphold some certain standard. It's just non-existent. The Biden administration sure gives the lip service, fine. And the Trump administration wouldn't. And we could talk about the dangers of that rhetoric obviously making things worse. I think, for example, that maybe with Trump in power, Bibi will just be like, you know what, I'll just go in and we'll just remove all the Gazans right now. We'll just go ahead and do it.
Right.
But I don't think the Biden administration would do anything if he was to do that under them too. Like, they haven't done anything. There has been no repercussions for Israel, period, at all. Again, I'm
so
not
what
saying,
repercussions do you want?
Oh, well, an arms embargo, absolutely. First of all, there needs to be accountability here. There should be no more arms sales to Israel.
So all things, including Iron Dome, you would withhold Iron Dome or no?
I mean, they have the Iron Dome. They have what they need already. I mean,
but the munitions come from here.
Right. I mean, I don't think we should be getting involved till they stop what they're doing. I mean, there has to be some sort of serious repercussions.
You do understand. You understand that these organizations, Hamas, Hezbollah, are large scale. They're not confined to this region. And of course, I mean, what was Israel supposed to do? I mean, we talk a lot about proportional response. Okay. I mean, you're aware that per capita, that October 7th is as big as like 10 9/11s.
I think that's just a silly way to look at it, honestly. I mean, per capita is not a way to look at deaths. To me, one death is one death, and that's one death too many. I don't think. I mean, do we want to do the per capita for the 40,000 plus in Gaza, and how many 9/11s that would be? I mean, it would be a lot more than that.
So compare it to the 20-year response that the United States did in relation to 9/11. Okay,
Oh,
let's look at
I'm
those numbers.
completely.
Who do you think? So we can all agree every death sucks. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't like deaths at all. Okay, but if you're an Israeli and you live next to people who are willing to do what they did on October 7th, and after October 7th said, we want to do it again, what are you supposed to do?
I mean, there's not going to be another October 7th. Israel has clearly made sure
Not
of
at
that.
this
There's no.
point. Why?
Oh yeah. Well,
Because they did what they did, my man. There would have been if we had
there.
done nothing.
Oh, listen. Did I expect Israel to do nothing? Of course not. But this is way out of proportion. This is the mass extermination of an entire people that they're trying to do over there. You don't destroy all the buildings in an entire area and give people no way out and then say that this is proportional to an attack like that.
Why didn't
It's
Egypt
just
let
not.
them out?
Okay, Egypt, we could say Egypt is just as bad, but the whole point is that Israel is our ally and supposed to be the shining beacon on a hill.
So
We
is
want to.
Egypt,
No, I mean
right?
Egypt. We don't call Egypt the only
I mean,
democracy in the Middle East.
because they're
We
not,
uphold.
obviously.
Well, that's my point. We uphold Israel to a different standard when we're talking about how great they are, but when they're doing something that's bad, like would we let Egypt, for example, do that to bomb the hell out of Israel or something? Of course not. So why are we letting Israel do that to the Palestinians in Gaza and now to innocent people in Lebanon as well?
Hmm. So what should we do,
Israel,
Matt? Like what so
Israel,
we stop giving Israel weapons. We stop giving Israel weapons. I hear you.
right?
And honestly, I think that's already there are some weapons that have started being withheld. Is that true or no?
No, I have not heard of any sort of weapons being
Yeah, they
withheld at
stopped
all.
giving them 2,000-pound bombs about a month ago.
Oh,
So
that
like
was just
they
that was
have,
just that was I think if what I'm recalling is what you're talking about, they actually did not. Like Israel made a complaint or something and they reversed that decision. There has been zero accountability. Zero.
I'd like to. I'm not aware of that complaint, but really, I would really love sometime for you to have a conversation with my brother because he lives in Israel. I mean, he lives in Beersheba. He was, his home was not far from. Well, I mean, nothing is far from
Right.
the border
I mean, my
in
home was
Israel. It's a
not
small
far.
country.
My home was not far from 9/11, from the Twin Towers. I saw the
Right?
smoke rising when I was in high school. I was right there in New York City when it happened. I could see it. It wasn't far
Right.
from me. I don't. I think we should not have. What we did is completely 100% wrong. So I
Right.
mean that the idea of you being close to something that doesn't really sway me one
No,
way or another.
no. All I'm saying is he has a perspective different than yours and mine, in that he is still living there. 9/11 was a one-time event, and there still is a war. There are still Israelis dying too, right? Like you're aware, there are still Israelis that
Oh,
are away from their families.
IDF soldiers. That's not. I'm sorry if you're a soldier in war. This is what you do. I'm sorry. Like this is
I'm sorry, they have.
s-
You're aware of how their military works, right?
right. Well, just
If you live there, you're
don't
a soldier.
don't
So if you live in
don't take
Israel,
part in it.
nope, nope. I don't think that's the way it works, man.
Just there are people. There are
Can't
people
live
who have.
there and not be part of it.
There are people who have, and I know people who've left
Very
Israel to not take part in it. I know people who moved out of Israel so they didn't have to. Their children didn't have to join the IDF. I mean, that's an option.
I suppose it is. I mean,
I
we
mean,
hear all the time, if you live in an anti-abortion state, you should move, right?
well, but when being in an anti-abortion state, you're not taking part in the killing of people. I mean, you're just not. I
Right, but
mean,
according to abortionists, if you live in an abortion state, you are.
well, we
Isn't
know
that
that
a
that's
head
not.
scratcher, my brother?
No, because I mean, we know that's not true though, because
Because
we
some
know that.
lives are not as important as others. I
No,
know.
I mean, no. Well, no, we know that a zygote is not a life, but a Palestinian living human being is a life. I mean, it's
And
not really.
a fetus,
It's.
a fetus is a life.
I don't believe so. It's not a living,
You don't believe a
breathing
fetus
human
is
being.
a life?
It's not it's not a human
I'm
being.
sorry, you have a
It's not
very
a human being.
weird. What is it then?
It's not a human being.
It's not a
It,
human being.
no.
A fetus is not a human being?
A zygote is not a human being?
A zygote is different than a fetus.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Once it reaches fetal state, I would consider it a human being. Would you not?
Not until it could live on its own, no.
Sliding scale, my brother. That's fine. I'm cool with that. And see, here's the thing: is I really appreciate you, Matt, and I appreciate you.
I mean, you can't seriously believe that a fetus is the equivalent. First of all, just living in a state that has outlawed abortion, you're not taking part in anything. You're not responsible for any of that. You're not a doctor. You're not just living in the state. However, being an active member of the IDF and being deployed into Gaza and taking part in the killing and of human beings who walk on this earth and live and breathe and feel and have emotions. That's you can't seriously think that's equivalent.
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
I'm obviously playing the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
So no. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to play with you too hard. I really enjoy your political discussion, and
I don't think. Listen, I don't think people in Israel are evil. I don't think people in Israel deserve. I think what happened on October 7th to the innocent civilians is horrible. I don't think any innocent civilian should have experienced that anywhere on either side of anything.
Right.
I do think that the IDF soldiers are fair game in an occupation, because they would do the same to the IDF soldiers are actively also doing that to the Palestinians. So I do think that's not, so that's a completely separate issue.
So what about when the Palestinian or I don't know, is it fair to have baby dolls with bombs tied to them and things like that, or little kids with bombs tied to them? I mean,
I don't know if that happening in Palestine and Gaza.
Really?
I don't. There's children tying suicide bombs to them. I've not heard.
I don't know. See, and I don't have as much information as I would like on that, so I don't know. I mean, would you agree that for sure Hamas have committed war crimes as well?
Of course.
I mean, of course, right? We all condemn both sides. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Hamas has certainly committed war crimes, just like I think IDF has committed war crimes. I think if you're involved, I think the Ukrainian army, which I think is in the right to defend, I think they've committed war crimes against the Russians.
It's very difficult to not commit war crimes.
Yeah, I know. You're going to have soldiers who at the even in the most perfect military, you're going to have soldiers who go rogue. Yes, I do think that the IDF has a problem that is very serious, where it's not just a few rogue soldiers. I think it's deeply embedded in the entire system. I think it's up to the very top. I think they're purposely told to honestly not discriminate between active militant or a innocent civilian. I think they are told it doesn't matter.
That's why they killed their own. That's why they killed their own hostages, because they are hair trigger soldiers. I get it, buddy. I do. The reason they're hair trigger soldiers, the reason they fight the way they do, is because of the kind of tactics that have been used against them. I mean, you understand? Like, they have adapted to the way that that they have been fought against. Does that make sense?
I mean, they put the Palestinian people in this position, though. Like, you can't complain that it's not fair that the other side doesn't have like a uniformed military when you're the reason they don't. I mean, they have no choice. This is what they've got. Like, I don't think
have choices.
I don't think Hamas is just an outright terrorist organization.
They pick their targets too.
Like Al Qaeda is, for example. Like, I don't think, or ISIS. I don't think Hamas is the equivalent to either of those groups. Hamas, certainly there are tactics and people who you could classify as that, but Hamas as an entire a group, I don't view them as just a straight up terrorist organization like ISIS or Al Qaeda. They are part government. They are a part.
So is Al Qaeda, buddy. What is Afghanistan?
Militant group.
What's Afghanistan's government?
The Taliban.
Are they militant? Are they
Oh,
aligned? I mean, isn't
the
that the
Taliban isn't an
same as
out.
Al Qaeda? I mean, if you
No, the
so, what's the
Taliban's not. The
difference if you have a
Taliban is
military
not.
branch and a governmental branch?
What's the difference? Well, because there's a hierarchy and rules, just like any other government. It's not like would you consider ISIS to be the equivalent to like a government? No, ISIS is just an outright
No.
terrorist organization.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, Hamas, for
So
example, like ISIS commits acts of terror wherever possible to spread their message. Hamas has never attacked anywhere but Israel, and that's because their whole purpose, their objective, is to end the occupation. They're not just like the
right.
idea that there are people in the United States worried about a Hamas attack is ludicrous. Hamas
What
has
is an
never.
end to the occupation?
What is an
Is
end to the
Israel allowed to be a country or not?
Well, that's a conversation that's beyond my pay grade, honestly. I think,
Right. Right. Right.
I mean, clearly there was a point where maybe there could have been a two-state solution. I
Right.
don't know what that solution is now. I don't advocate for either or. I think whatever frees the people of Palestine and also brings peace to the people of Israel who want to continue living there in that
Right.
area, whether it's called Israel or not, I don't really give a shit. To me, I don't care about the country. I don't care about it at all because to me, the country is not people. Um, if
Wow.
it's not no, like the
Wow.
idea that Israel has a
Wow. Okay.
the idea
So
that
the
Israel
reason
has a
Israel was
right to
created. Wait. So you're okay with the Jews not having a state?
I don't think anyone should have an ethno state. I don't think there should be I don't think there should be a Muslim Islam run state. I don't think there should be a
Okay.
Christian run state. Like we completely know what we're like when we talk about like a Christo-fascist state in the United States from the Republicans. We completely know how ridiculously disgusting and wrong it is. But we're fine with Israel having the same thing, but for the Jewish people. No, it's wrong. It's like I'm
Do
not
Arabs
fine
live
with.
in Israel, Matt?
Sure, they do, but under a different set of
So is it an
laws.
ethno state?
Absolutely, they have different.
No, it's not.
There are
No, it's not.
neighborhoods. There are
It's not an
streets.
ethno state. Arabs live there with rights. How many Jews live in Gaza, Matt?
Did you know? Did you know? Well, it's not really a choice. Really,
How many Jews live in Gaza, Matt?
What Jew? I'm sure there are.
Zero. Do you know why 0 Jews live in Gaza, Matt?
Go ahead. You can continue.
Because Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005 and 6,
Right.
and all the Jews left. Why?
Correct. They chose to not live alongside the Palestinians. They gave it back to them.
Okay. So then the Palestinians could have come into, so, but Israel isn't an ethno state, so Palestine isn't an ethno state, despite the fact that no Jews live there.
Our interfaith marriages, our interfaith marriages allowed in Israel.
Between Jews and other religions, legally,
yes.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry.
That's amazing.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean,
that's fair.
If the Republicans in the United States tried to pass that law, we would call that fascism, right?
You're absolutely.
Exactly
I would say it's a terrible law. And honestly, I think it's a bad law in Israel too. But that's their democracy to run, not mine.
We support it. We hold it up. Israel is nothing without the United States. The U.S. can choose tomorrow to snap their fingers and make Israel provide a Palestinian state, a recognized Palestinian state, and Israel would have no choice.
Right. So how long has that been a possibility?
Since the beginning of time, since the beginning of Israel in, however far you want to go back, 1948, 1967.
I'm sorry, brother. Right. Okay. You have a very different understanding of history than I do. That is absurd. Israel was not created by the United States. It was created by the United Nations.
I didn't say
right?
The United States created Israel. I said Israel's.
But you say they sustain it. Would you say that the United Nations sustains Israel or the United States?
I would say the United States sustains it and the UN does nothing to rein it in.
Oh, man. So how exactly, Matt, do you envision this going? of the United States snapping their fingers and making a two-state solution appear. And why haven't they done it for the last fucking 60 years?
Because they don't care about the
It
Palestinians.
sure would make our lives easier, wouldn't it?
The U.S. government doesn't care about the Palestinians. It's that simple.
You're wrong about that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
How can you see what we've? How can you see what we've seen over the past year?
Do we care about the South Sudanese? Do we care about the South Sudanese?
No, we don't. We don't care about the South Sudanese either.
So we care as much about the Palestinians as we do the South Sudanese or the Bangladeshis or So what do you want, Matt? We are United States of America. What do you want? You want us to be the policemen of the entire world and make every decision?
The difference is we're not the ones propping up the government that's doing what they're doing to the South in South Sudan. We're not the ones propping up the government that's doing what they're doing in Bangladesh. We are the ones propping up the government that's doing to the Palestinians.
We prop up many governments in many ways.
We do not provide any country in the world the assistance we provide Israel.
We don't provide the Palestinians as much as we provide any other refugee group.
You could say that too, but also we give more to Israel than we do to any other country.
Okay, so we fight. We are on both sides of this conflict.
We're not. There has never been.
No, you're blinded, Matt. You are blinded.
How?
You don't see this because you don't see, because you're watching pictures that are horrible of horrible acts of war.
No, I've felt
Israelis aren't happy about those either.
This is,
and America's not happy.
This has been my position since I was old enough to start to understand what was really going on back in I would say my real political awakening, I guess, was post 9/11. I was in high school, and that completely changed my worldview. Changed my worldview is an understatement. It completely got me involved in politics, and I've been there ever since. So I mean, I think the idea that we are on both sides of this is like ludicrous. Like we could have forced Israel to recognize a Palestinian state at any time, and we still can today. And
you are wrong about that in every way. And if we could have, we would have. I'm sorry, but what president would turn down that legacy?
Well, because they don't want to do it. They don't want to force Israel's hands because they
You're
don't want to bother
wrong.
Israel.
What are you talking about? If a peaceful two-state solution could be resolved, it would be that new Abraham fucking Lincoln. Are you kidding me, Matt? Like, think about this logically. Don't you see? I mean, that's like saying I have the cure for cancer, but I'm keeping it to myself because I want people to be sick. No, that's not how the world works.
There's no pro-cancer lobby that doesn't want the cancer medicine to get out there. I mean, maybe you could say
pharma.
Maybe you could argue that there probably
it's the Jews. It's the Jews.
No, I'm not saying it's.
That's what you're saying, man. That's what you're saying. It's AIPAC. It's the Jews. Hey, Matt, I'm sorry, brother. I went too far.
Israel has a huge lobby in the United States. It's just crystal clear. It's nothing to do with being a Jew. It doesn't do with being a Jew. It's to do with being a Zionist. Joe Biden is the most.
See, that's the problem. You believe Zionism is pure evil, correct?
I think any state set up to prop up a religion as above anybody else or any other religion is wrong.
That's not what they're doing. They're saying we need a safe space. We need a safe space because everywhere we've been in the world, we've been fucking massacred. So we need a space that is ours, that no one else can say, here, the Jews do not belong.
1,200 Jewish people were killed on October 7th. Apparently, Israel's not the safe space.
It's safer now that Palestine, more of Palestine, more of Gaza is hurt. Yeah, absolutely. You said there won't be Did you say there won't be another October 7th? Israel made very sure of that, or yes or no?
Oh, because from Hamas, of course not. But if you don't think
exactly, and Hezbollah was next, and that's why they had to blow up the pagers, which was an insanely targeted attack.
If you don't, no, it was not. It was.
It was.
It was insanely.
Who distributed the pagers?
I have no idea who distributed the pagers. I don't remember. I read it, but
Hamas
I don't.
distributed the pagers.
You mean
Hamas
Hezbollah? You mean
distributed the pagers. Do you
Hezbollah?
know what?
You mean Hezbollah?
Yes, Hezbollah. My bad, because we're in Lebanon now, right? Hezbollah distributed the pagers because they were afraid that countries were going to intercept cellular signals. Israel caught wind of this. They figured out that Hezbollah was going to start using pagers, and so they set up companies to sabotage the people who were in Hezbollah who received these walkie-talkies. How is that not targeted?
Well, because they have no idea where those walkie-talkies were, and we saw from what had happened that day, there were situations.
Is it more or less targeted than a bomb, than large-scale bombs?
Less targeted. I mean, I guess it was. If you want to compare it to a bomb, sure. I guess it was more targeted in that way. Sure. Okay.
Perfect. I would like to do that.
You still had innocent casualties.
Of course, that's war. If Hezbollah had decided, when Hezbollah attacked that soccer field, did we have casualties from those rockets? They didn't mean it at a soccer field, but they killed 13 kids.
I don't recall.
I know you don't, because you only look at the Palestinian bodies.
What? No, I don't. What are you talking?
Okay.
What are you talking about now? I mean, I've made it crystal clear. I've made it crystal clear that I think any attack on any civilian is wrong, whether they're an American, whether they're an Israeli, whether they're a Palestinian. I've made that crystal clear.
Okay.
I'm not one of those, I'm not someone who's like anyone gets what's coming to them if they're over there or something like that. No, I think that's wrong. Okay. I think there are individuals and groups and organizations that are fair game. I think if you're an IDF soldier, I think you're fair game based on the fact that there's an occupation. Just as IDF views any Palestinian as fair game, apparently.
Right. So that's the question. So how do Israel? What are they supposed to do? Especially, I mean, do you not believe they fire out of hospitals and things? I mean, do you believe that's true or no?
I mean, have they ever fired out of a hospital or beside a hospital? I'm sure they have.
I mean, they specifically do that because it looks bad when Israel hits a hospital.
Well, I mean, they specifically do that because there's no like fortress or fort or like position of attack. They're literally a militant group that's in a small you could call it a ghetto that Israel have put
I tried to do that with my brother too, and he disagreed.
I mean, there's nowhere, like they don't have an airport. They can't decide to leave without permission from Israel. That's insane. I'm sorry, that is insane.
Egypt.
That is
or Egypt.
Okay, we could say Egypt too.
They have two borders.
No U.S. citizen, would put up with not being able to leave the country unless either Canada or Mexico approved of it. That would be insane. We would call it exactly what it is, and we would say any attack on either of those countries to free the Americans is completely legitimate.
I think the same. I think your understanding of politics is very naive. If you think that we can have a two-state solution just like that, and you think that, I mean, I love you, Matt. I think you've been doing this a long time. I think that you have failed to look at the picture in a holistic way. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think that you have this picture from the Israeli perspective enough. I think you see it.
I think you're wrong. I have the picture from the Israeli perspective. I'm an American. I was in this position post 9/11 as a high school student.
You were not
about what was going on. What are you talking about?
We were very afraid there were going to be more attacks. You're absolutely right. And what did we do? We literally fought wars on the other side of the planet to basically draw the enemy's attention away from our country and killed. I mean, it was horrible what we did, but you were safe. So what is Israel doing right now? Horrible shit. They are killing more people than they should, but they are safer.
How many non-IDF soldiers? Non-IDF soldier Israelis have died post October 7th. How many civilians, Israeli civilians, have been killed in Israel after October 7th?
Well, the soccer field kids that you didn't know about, but those weren't. I don't have a number in front of me.
I recall what you're talking about. That wasn't in Israel. That was in the occupied Golan Heights in Syria. And
Okay.
those were, if I recall, those were Arab kids too. They weren't Israeli
But
kids.
are you telling? Okay. Okay. Fair. So so if I say zero, what's the point? How many? Like, what's the point? Go ahead.
So my my experience of knowing how wrong it is to carry out a mass killing of people as revenge that does nothing but create
No.
more enemies. My experience as an
No.
American seeing it played out in that way is no different from what I see Israel doing. Israel is the way Israel is behaving, even the Israeli citizens, the vast majority of them, not all of them, but the vast majority of them, is the same exact way the vast majority of Americans and the American government acted post 9/11. It is the same exact thing. It was wrong when America
You're
did
right.
it. It is wrong the way the American public viewed the people in the Middle East after it. It is wrong when Israel is doing it. It's wrong how the Israeli citizens are viewing people in the Middle East. It is the exact same thing.
No. It's not even close. If you were right, and all it did was create more enemies around the world, how come there haven't been any more terrorist attacks on the United States soil after
What are
9/11
you
when we did
talking
what we
about?
did?
There were
It's
a
the same thing we
bunch of
created
attacks. There were a bunch. There was San
in the U.S.
Bernardino. There was yes. Are you not recalling? There was a whole string of
Oh
terrorist
yes, I
attacks
do.
throughout. Yeah, yeah.
It's been a minute. Okay, there were a few. You're absolutely right. There were a few. But who are the terrorists in the United States now? Is it the Islamic? Is it those people that we're bombing and making a problem with, or is it the right wingers?
What
I
in
mean, it's a
the
little bit of both. But I mean, in the United States, we don't look. What you said is what Israel's doing is creating a whole bunch of more enemies. No, they're not. They are killing their enemies, and they're killing a lot of their enemies, and
if
that is
there were
making them
any
safer. As my
if
brother
there
said, Golda Meir said, he was quoting Golda, said, "I would rather have your uh, your condemnation than your condolences."
all right. I mean, if that's how you want to look at it, I mean, the idea if there were any Palestinians who were anti-Hamas before due to issues with how Hamas was hoarding wealth or whatever it was. I'm sure they were doing stuff like that, or food rationing for civilians. Well, I'm sure that was happening because every sort of government is corrupt in that way. If there were any Palestinians that harbored ill will towards Hamas, those Palestinians certainly no longer exist for multiple reasons. Probably Israel killed them, or they now view Hamas or their own resistance against Israel as a necessity now, and they see Hamas as heroes. And we will now see, if not Hamas itself, new militant groups in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Yemen. It's not, you can't see it right now because obviously they need time to get it together. But what
Hmm.
Israel has done is created a whole string of new enemies. And I guess the best way to end
Right.
this call is to
I'm
say,
sorry. I'm sorry. No, 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 no. No. Hang on. You said new enemies. Do you know? You don't know the history of Israel at all, do you?
I
Like at
I know
all?
I know what some
How
I
many
know.
times has Israel been attacked by its Arab neighbors? How
Oh,
many
this
times?
I know the 6-Day War. I know all this. I
They're
know
not
about
new
this.
neighbors. They're not new enemies. They're the same enemies, brother. They're the same enemies.
You are viewing all Arab people as the enemy of Israel. I would say the vast
No.
majority
No.
there are tens of millions of people in the Middle East. I'm sure
Right?
while most of them went about their life and never either even gave two thoughts about Israel, or just maybe there's some that didn't like Israel but had no intent of doing anything because that's not their place. Now they feel like they need to do something about the problem of this neighboring country that fucking comes over and invades their neighbors whenever the hell they want and start bombing neighborhoods. I'm telling you, this is a problem that Israel has created in a way that did not exist before.
So I just want to say, Matt, I'm actually more on your side than you think. I just like to argue both sides. I really
All right.
appreciate this call. I think
No,
you're a
good.
fantastic man. I will call back another time. I'll see if my brother wants to call in sometime too. But love your shit. I've been listening to you since like you were on the Sam Cedar show, and like before you left the Sam Cedar show and came back. So
I hear you. Yeah, that was.
love you and the whole crew out there and stuff. I got fucking called out one time because people were like, "You're not a real fan," because this is a stupid story. It doesn't even matter. But I fucking love you guys. I think you guys are the best, and left is best.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the call.
See you later, brother. Bye.
Bye. I mean, I know people in the chat don't believe him, but I don't care. Either way, I enjoy calls like that because listen, am I do I claim to be a expert in the entire history of Israel Palestine? Obviously not. No. But you don't need to be an expert. I mean, I would say I probably know more than most people because that's what I do. Um, but like if I was to have an episode on this, which I have, I would bring in somebody who knows more than me, obviously. But to have a debate like this, I'm more than capable of doing it because it's not a history lesson. You don't need to know the entire every detail of the region. You just need to know that what is happening is wrong. Listen, I've made it quite clear. I think that what happened to the innocent civilians on October 7th is horrible, and I feel uh, just as sorry for them as I feel for any individuals, innocent individuals who are killed in a terrorist attack or any sort of attack. Especially the older people or any children, the hostages, which most of the children and women were released when Israel agreed to a deal with Hamas and Hamas released them. I think they should have never taken any women or children. I think holding military hostages was enough. But in terms of what happened, it's very easy to say this. What happened on October 7th is wrong. It does not in any way, shape, or form give Israel the right or permission to do what they're doing. They are killing so many innocent people. They've destroyed Gaza. It is inhabitable. It's inhabitable. You just have to look at the pictures of it. Look at the overhead map. I mean, and they're not done. Sinwar has been killed. The leader of Hamas has been killed. And they're still carrying out, and they're extending their attacks into Lebanon. The idea that, and this is something you constantly hear from uh the pro-Israel crowd. This is what they wanted. No, they didn't. The average Palestinian had no say in any of this. The vast majority of Palestinians had no say in what happened or how what went down or anything. Oh, they voted for Hamas in 2005? More than half of Gaza wasn't even born in 2005. They didn't vote for shit. 2006, whatever it was. Nearly 20 years ago. Oh, they should have overthrown Hamas. Oh, okay. Like it's a fucking movie, right? Like Wolverines. What are you, fucking crazy? What are you kidding me? Why didn't the U.S. overthrow the Bush administration? Why didn't the Americans overthrow the Bush administration? Oh, I guess America deserved 9/11 then, if that's your train of thought. You know, those innocent civilians who were killed on 9/11, they should have stopped their government from carrying out the bombings in Lebanon, which Osama bin Laden claimed was the inspiration for his attacks and why he wanted to seek retribution against the United States. Um Radagast says, Matt Binder, what's the point of debating these lunatics? Because I'm a masochist. I enjoy these conversations. I do think there are people who feel that way, and whether they come across this video or not, maybe they will, and I think maybe it'll be helpful. Um, yeah. Let's go back to the phones. Let's see. 346. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How's it going, man? It's Michael. I'm calling from Texas.
Hey, Michael from Texas. Are you on speaker? You sound a little bit muffled.
I am not, but hopefully, is it
Oh,
better?
it sounds like you just got like like closer to your speaker or something. It sounds a little bit better now. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I work for the Harris campaign and the Colin Albright campaign here in Texas. And my question is, I don't understand all this doom and gloom about the election. I get, the Palestine and Israel issue and how it's terrible and everything, and nobody likes it. And her running around with Liz Cheney, it is terrible and nobody likes it. But like the momentum right now in the campaign, sorry, I'm nervous, and like the groundswell and the early turner like voting numbers, like I just don't understand why people think this election is even going to be close. Like Trump is imploding,
Right.
so I just
I
want your perspective on that.
I think the worry is that it's Kamala's campaign to lose, and
Right.
it seems like they are doing a lot to lose it. I know you said you work for the campaign and you work for the Colin Allred campaign in Texas, and I bet it does look good if you're actually campaigning because people don't want Trump and people seem to like her more than Biden because it's a change, it's something different.
Right.
Um, so maybe I'm not saying your viewpoint is wrong either. We're just viewing it from different perspectives because we both are
Right.
having different experiences. I personally think she's still looking like she's going to win. I've maintained that throughout.
Yeah.
I what I have said is that I am feeling less and less sure of that as time goes on. Like,
Okay.
when the
And so
campaign
for
was
me, it's
first
like,
kicked off, when Biden first stepped down and endorsed her and her campaign went into full swing and they first picked Tim Walz, I felt like
mhm,
this was going to be an easy win. Like everything was going in our favor. And I feel like week by week, based on decision and by decision from them, less of that has been going in their favor. That doesn't mean it's enough for them to lose, but it's enough that I think there is cause for concern.
okay.
Um,
And my rebuttal to that would be like, I am in communication with different staffers all across the country. And like, especially in here in Texas, like we're seeing red districts that went 10 or 15% like Democrat that are like, they have never had lines ever in these polling areas. And there's lines around the building for days. I just don't understand. I get all our
what is the
internal numbers are
what is
good.
the
Like the base is fired up. So I just don't understand why nobody's talking about that.
well? Because I do feel like it's 2020 was sort of like an anomaly election, right?
Oh,
So
and
it's
the
hard.
polling is so bullshit. Like it's
What was that?
oh, it's close. It's not close. Like they're
Well,
over
I
polling Republicans.
I mean, I think the concern though is that like 2020 was an anomaly, right? Like all the factors that drove the vote are very different. Like you almost can't look at 2020, right?
Yeah,
Because
I'm
there's not a
talking about
pandemic.
2022 midterms where
You're
they
right.
no, it's gonna be a red
Right.
wave, and that was complete bullshit.
Right, right. Of course. I think in terms of, the House and hopefully the Senate, although there is a possibility that they lose the Senate. I mean, we'll have to
Yeah,
see.
that's what I
Right.
about.
But in terms of like down ballot for the most case, I do think Dems are gonna be fine. Um, wouldn't surprise me if they take back the House. Um, and
Right.
who knows what that'll mean for state legislatures across the country too. Um, the Senate though,
Oh,
oof.
so I have
uh,
a question for you about
yeah,
the. So I heard you say on with the last caller, which that was a doozy, about like so with Kamala's like I believe Joe Biden's a Zionist, and I think that's clouding a lot of his judgment. I don't prescribe that to Kamala at all. I think the only reason why she's not out there beating down the door on this whole Israel thing, and I can tell you from inside the campaign, any staffer who's under 30 across the country has been screaming at the top of their lungs that our messaging on this is dog shit. It's APAC. Like they're terrified of APAC, not so much for the presidential race, but down ballot. So it's kind of we're in a situation where
I mean
we kind of just
we're
have to
we're
bite our
we
tongues and not say anything until the election's over. And I feel like that's when you're going to see the messaging ramp up.
I get what you're saying. It's just hard to go by that right now. Like,
Right.
because there's nothing that points in that direction. But also to that, I would say we are now 2 weeks out from the election. There is nothing that APAC can put together that's going to change anything
Well,
down ballot at
but
this
there is
point.
the media, like the whacking, the shellacking she would get if she came out. And I mean, you got Jake Tapper, that fucking idiot, and all these other clowns out there.
I
Dana
mean,
Bash,
I would
whatever.
say there are ways to word things where you can show empathy towards Palestinians,
Right.
and I just
And I
don't
know
see
for
it.
the last I think 3 months now, like the Harris campaign has been pressuring the Biden campaign. This is like a little inside baseball, but for the last 3 months have been heavily pressuring the Biden campaign on changing messaging. And I think that's why we had that 30-day ban bullshit, which wasn't
Right,
great,
but
but
I
it was
don't care about
something.
the messaging though. That's the thing. Like we've already seen their messaging is meaningless. They're
Right.
empty words.
Well, I
Um,
mean, what I'm saying is like, Kamala's not, she's not the president, so she
right.
can't
No,
like really
I agree that there are certainly factors at play that are preventing her from showing her true position on this.
right.
The problem is that the situation is so dire that that's not enough. And I understand the concerns, but there's certainly a way to toe that line that they have not cared to do for Muslim Americans or Arab Americans. I mean that speech that first speech she gave when she first announced. I thought that was pretty good, actually. I
Yeah.
thought that was a good way to toe that line. Since then, she has thrown that to the wind and has said some pretty horrendous stuff, like that last one she gave where she was asked about, how Arab Americans or Palestinians or Muslim Americans feel in Michigan or whatever, and she's out of the blue says, "Let's not forget how this all started." And the most tragic of
Yeah.
events,
I'm so sick and
October
tired of
7th.
it.
I mean, that was
I'm so
truly disgusting.
sick.
This isn't a competition. We don't need to say one was more tragic than the other, but if
Right.
she's going to do that, the idea that 1,200 people dying is more tragic than 40,000 plus dying, including majority women and children. I mean, that is truly vile to even throw that out there.
I completely agree. I think the gamble that they're taking is that I think one of the most educated voter groups that we have, especially in Michigan, that's where I'm from, is our Muslim population. And the gamble or the risk that the campaign is taking is like these people aren't gonna not vote because they know Trump. Like I agree, Trump is gonna be like, I know you think like, oh, it's a wash, it's not gonna be any worse. Like if Trump gets in office, it's literally just gonna be like free reign. Netanyahu does whatever he wants, no
I
resistance.
I
And
know
I
I've
don't think with the Kamala Harris campaign or with the Kamala Harris, like, you know what I'm talking about.
no,
Isn't there
I
that
listen. I again, I do think he's going to be worse on this. But the problem is, how do you quantify what worse is when you look at what's already been done? Like, that's the
would
problem
be
here. Like, it's not
Israel
like there was.
running through
It's
there,
not like
massacring everybody and taking over the place with no pushback? That would be way worse, and that's
I
what would happen to
I
Trump.
truly
Yeah,
don't think I truly don't think that if Israel did that right now, the U.S. would do anything. I
you
truly
really
don't.
don't think he
I
wouldn't do
do not.
anything? I
What
think that's
have
like
what has you said it yourself? Joe Biden's a huge Zionist. What
I
would
don't even
what
think Joe Biden would let that happen.
I think they would do
Just
nothing.
even politically, that
I
would just
politically what we've already seen politically what the issue like to me the if 40,000 plus deaths and the complete annihilation of an entire area isn't enough, then what's the difference between just
do you believe that if Kamala doesn't change stance on this, if she gets elected, that in 4 years she'll get reelected again, if the same as usual or worse? Because I don't believe so.
oh no, listen, I'm not saying they're going to be worse than Trump. I think Trump will be worse. The problem
Okay.
is I do not know how to quantify that for people in this scenario. Like I can't like worse how than what we've already seen
Worse
on
would be
in Gaza. Like
Nazi
I know you said
level of
you know what was
massacre as
that?
well.
I'm sorry. I was talking over you and I missed a lot of what you said. So repeat from the beginning.
I just said worse would be like Nazi Germany 2.0. Like that's what would happen, in my opinion, under a
I
Trump
mean,
administration.
I already have seen Palestinian people
I get it.
naked, rounded up, blindfolded, put into ditches. I it's I mean,
I completely agree,
maybe
but I
the
don't think
tip
we're at Nazi
maybe
Germany levels of.
maybe the tiptoeing around what they're doing would end. Maybe they would just more openly just be like fuck it and just yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. But I again, based on what we've seen this year, there has been nothing. There's been not even the tiniest of recourse other than empty words for
Yeah.
anything that they've done. So it's hard for me to just trust that, oh, this just one more step further and they'll put their foot down. They've put,
Yeah, you shouldn't trust it. I
yeah.
think when she gets elected, we should be in the street protesting and marching and putting pressure on her administration
I
that this
mean,
is not acceptable.
the
I
truth,
think she's gonna
truth,
have to
the
listen
truth,
to that.
the truth of the matter is like they don't view it um as an electoral problem outside of maybe Michigan. They just don't. And so they
And
don't
but it
care.
will be for you if this continues,
Right.
I believe. But on a more positive note, everybody go out and vote. Help your friends and family register to vote, and don't
Listen,
be so doom and gloom. Look
I'm glad you're
outside.
doing I'm glad you're doing the work. I appreciate it, and I bet you're
Yeah,
a listener
it's
of
hard
this
as a left
show.
Democratic Party. I'll tell you that,
What's that?
as it is very hard and frustrating being a leftist and working inside the Democratic
No, I
Party.
hear it. And listen, I totally get someone in Texas, like, that's must be and from what you're saying though, maybe who knows?
Texas could turn
How's
into-
I don't think she's winning Texas, but how's a loss for Cruz looking? You think that's a possibility?
I think it's gonna happen. Like it's the turn. I think it's gonna happen. I would bet everything I own that Ted Cruz is gonna lose.
All right. I mean, I'm not happy with everything Colin Allred has done and said, but in terms of knocking down Cruz, I'll pick anyone who's to the left of him for sure.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you, and you have a great night.
No, you too, and I appreciate you taking the time to call in. And listen, I've told people You got to vote strategically, and the strategic vote for this election is for Kamala Harris, and hands down, easy. I mean, obviously, do not vote for Donald Trump if you can't pull that lever. Just don't vote at all. But if you can, please do go out and vote strategically. You wanna vote for
Well,
the
I would
person
say
that
not don't vote at all. Just vote down ballot.
down
'Cause
ballot.
that's
Yes, there you go.
most
Even
people do.
better. You're right. Yes, that's what I meant. Don't vote if you absolutely cannot vote for a presidential candidate because of what's happening in Gaza. Just at least go vote down ballot because let's put it this way: there are Democrats and outspoken Democrats who deeply care about. We've been talking about the Democrats who don't care about Palestinians. There are Democrats who are in power. I mean, Rashida Tlaib, obviously. I mean, she
AOC,
hasn't left the Democratic Party because she understands where she needs to be, even though she's
right?
fighting against members of her own party a lot of times. Ilhan Omar. There are AOC. And we could, you can have your critiques of everything she's done, sure, but overall, there's no doubt she has been 100% good on this issue. Um, there are no Republicans at all who care
None.
about the Palestinian people. So let's vote in Democrats and get more Democrats who do care about Palestinians in there.
All right, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, you too.
Uh, hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Ren from Oregon. Oh my God, that one call was fucking grotesque, and I think that guy was seriously disturbed.
Well, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But whatever his intent, whatever his true feelings are, it doesn't matter to me.
His intent
But
was to do Hezbollah on your show and then clip it and share it for propaganda purposes.
I mean, if that's the case, that's fine. I think I handled it quite well. I'm not, I think everything was absolutely fine.
Fair enough. Sorry, go ahead with the
I
thing
mean,
you were gonna
I
say.
don't think I came out looking bad in that exchange at all. I mean, this is, I couldn't make it any clearer. I am 100% on the side of any sort of innocent civilian. And yes, I know there are people who view, there's an occupation. Listen, there are people in every country who are born into the country or whatever terrible situation that their government is doing. They have no power. At the end of the day, they have no power. It doesn't matter what their personal opinion is. They have no power. Do I think it's a problem that Israeli society has become so far right? Yes. That doesn't mean I think those far right winger civilians who have no power should be, killed.
Yes.
But my point here is that I am. Doesn't matter what your opinion are. If you are a powerless civilian, doesn't matter what your position is. You're innocent in the matter. Just like I don't blame Americans who voted for George W. Bush or Americans who voted for Trump, and that's all they did. They have no other power. They're not in the administration. They're not in some even at some bottom hierarchy working in the Republican Party. Not even that. They're just average Americans working a job, and they pulled a lever that I disagree with. Those people are innocent. They have no bearing on what happens. We could talk about responsibility in terms of votes, but that responsibility does not mean you are you are then fodder for whatever those repercussions are. It's just I don't agree with that.
Well, Matt, I would disagree with you on that point. I do think that Americans who vote for Republicans or Americans that, vote for things that devastate other nations, I think that they are complicit in the actions of their government. I
Mm,
think that people are responsible for the governments that they elect. Like somebody in
I
Mississippi
think
in the
there are
1950s. No. Somebody in Mississippi in the 1960s who goes out and pulls that presidential lever to vote for George Wallace is absolutely a condemnable person. But what I will say is absolutely, like, violence towards them is not justified, and it's not going to achieve anything. The way that I would want to reframe it is that Israelis have a disease called fascism. And when you have fascism, which is a mental illness, it is something that makes you behave irrationally and in a way that is dangerous to yourself and to everyone else around you.
I agree with you to an extent. I think there are varying degrees of culpability. And I also think there is, I think we give the voting population way too much credit in terms of them fully understanding what they're voting for. I hate to say it, and this isn't to demean anyone, and this is just the people have different priorities. A lot of people who vote have no fucking clue what they're voting for. Yes, I
That's
believe
true.
that if you're like a fucking like out and out neo-Nazi or and you're voting because you want for someone who is going to give you what you want in that aspect and you know fully what you're voting for, yes, I agree that you have way more culpability than, the guy who doesn't pay attention and is not plugged in, and he was a rube who fell for the words of how this person was going to help them. I think there are different levels of culpability between that guy and the out and out, completely plugged in neo-Nazi.
Yes, I'd agree. I think that there is an issue, and I think that this is something that has been fostered by the government and by the media in the American people, but there is a certain degree of incuriosity that the average American has about the world around them. And that incuriosity, combined with the massive power of this country, makes this country incredibly dangerous to every developing nation across the world.
Yeah. I mean,
so can I pull up a specific instance, not of voting, but things directly related to Israel?
Of course you can't. Why would I let you do that? No, of course. Go ahead. You don't got to ask.
So there's this lady, and she runs like a baklava like bakery, and she has different sorts of like traditional Turkish.
I did not give you permission to make me hungry at 12 o'clock midnight. Thank you very much. What am I going to do now? I'm not going to be able. There's no way I can get a baklava right now.
Maybe you should start your calls a little earlier, Matt.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds like a you problem.
It was a me problem. I got home late. My kid had 2 soccer practices today. He had homework to finish. He went to bed way past his bedtime. And because soccer's my baby, it was my responsibility to oversee him doing his homework after soccer practice. So the usual time I would stream, I was actually doing homework with my son. So it is my bad. Go ahead, though. Back to the baklava bakery.
She was born in the West Bank as a Christian who is an Arab Palestinian. And she was given the opportunity to have Israeli citizenship, and she took it. And when I mentioned stuff that my Jewish boyfriend had broken up with me in the month following October 7th, and that I thought that my like very vocal opposition to Israel could have played a part in it, she was telling me, oh honey, like blah blah blah, like what they say, like if you want to live a happy life, don't talk about politics. And then she's like, but the thing that people don't understand is that the Hamas, they hide under the tunnels and they hide under the school. They're like rats, they're like vermin. And I was like absolutely terrified. I know that I've brought up this example before, but that woman is a fascist, and that woman is acting like a Nazi when she talks about Hamas's vermin. The lady that NBC News interviewed in the Jewish Quarter immediately following October 7th, what did she say? She said, terrorist is not enough. These people are not human beings. Right. And like, with this lady who's a Palestinian Christian, and to tie this into that caller who I thought was a very disgusting person, to tie that into the fact that Jewish people chose to leave Gaza after the Israeli forces left in 2006, if you were given the opportunity between joining the more powerful group and joining the oppressing force, or to be left behind and face extermination, what would you do? I think you would choose to join Israel if you were in the West Bank and you were a Christian or a
Right.
Jew and you were given the opportunity to have Israeli citizenship. And so as much as I will say that that woman is acting like a Nazi when she says things that are dehumanizing of Arabs and that are not giving empathy to the Palestinians, you also have to understand that like the alternative to that is a very terrifying decision to make, and it's very understandable why some of these people end up like that. But it is our responsibility as Americans and as the American government to curb that, because we are responsible for funding the Israeli state.
Yeah, no, we are absolutely culpable in this. Once about culpability and the varying degrees of it. The United States government is 100% part of the problem. In fact, I want to retract that. They are a major factor. And as I was said earlier in that debate I was having with the caller, the U.S. can make Israel uh, recognize a Palestinian state if they really wanted to.
Yes.
Maybe in the past year or so now, it would be a little bit more difficult because it seems like Israel thinks that they can go rogue and no one can rein them in and stop them. But at the end of the day, if we were to actually give Israel repercussions for their behavior, and that repercussion was tied to not recognizing a Palestinian state, then something would be done to recognize Palestinian state, I can assure you.
Yeah. Is it okay? Question for you. Are you going to take other calls? How much longer do you want this call to go?
We can go a little bit longer. I
Cool.
forgot to tell you guys. I actually forgot to reply to Sam. You just reminded me now. I don't know why, but the way you worded what you said reminded me of this. I got the official invite from Sam Cedar to be part of the Majority Report live election night coverage in Brooklyn. So I will be there.
Fantastic.
I
That's
will be
great.
there. Leftist Mafia will still be streaming. I will be bringing my computer to Brooklyn to the Majority Report show, and whenever I'm backstage or not on, I will be jumping on the stream for Leftist Mafia. I will be everywhere and anywhere on election night. But if you want to physically see me in person, Brooklyn is where I'll be at the Majority Report live show.
So I've actually got a question for you regarding stuff with potentially seeing you in person. Do you have plans for like March or April of this next year?
I don't even have plans for after October of this year. So no, I do not.
Well, I am going to get an Amtrak rail pass, and I'm going to visit a bunch of fellow patriots across the nation. I'm going up through Montana, swinging down through Chicago, gonna get up on the Northeastern Corridor, visit some friends in New Jersey, and I'm probably gonna spend like one day in New York City, and take the train into Union Station, and then take the train out the same day, because no way in hell I'm paying for a hotel in New York.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah,
But
you know what?
I
Maybe give me an idea. Maybe you let me know more information as it gets closer, and maybe I'll see about doing like a in-person like a meetup or something. And
well, I
we could
was
all.
gonna
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not expecting a yes, especially immediately over the phone. But like, I remember Kowalski came into Majority Report for that one time.
Oh, you want to go to the Majority
yeah,
Report? You got to reach out to them. For
no,
that
not
one.
to Majority Report. Dear Lord, no. I'm not. God, I'd have to be a pretty self-inflated caller to think that I'd get that. But no,
Honestly, they'd
it'd be
probably
cool
let
to get
you.
like
So if
tea
you
or
really
coffee
wanted
or
to.
something.
Yeah, no, we'll let me know as it gets closer. I met with Dave from Jamaica when he was in town, and we went and got lunch.
nice.
So yeah, definitely. I'm open for that. And you get depending. Maybe I'll put out a call for a few people, and we could all meet up in real life for the first. Like I could meet some other fans or followers or viewers or whatever you guys want to call yourselves, too. And it'll be fun that way.
That'd be really cool. The other shit that I was gonna bring up. Oh Lord, what am I thinking? Oh yeah, I have a nice shiny new windshield on my car. It's like, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. I'm able to actually get around and get groceries and do things again.
I don't remember. Oh my God, I do remember. How could I
You
forget?
do remember now.
There was. It's after midnight here, so I was a little slow, but I 100% remember every single detail now. I did not forget. I just had a momentary lapse in what was being talked about.
Well, I'm going to ask you, I spoke to a credit agency across, and apparently they own like 5 different buildings on this block, and they got the guy from multiple angles. And so I'm thinking this might actually, I might be able to get in touch with my freelancer friend and maybe even get in touch with like local news. I don't know if they'll cover like, violence against anti-war protesters, but like that could be like pretty decent. Like that could be interesting.
Do you recognize the person, or you can't say? You can't tell.
I haven't seen it yet. Things didn't work out with my friend. I had to take her someplace on Monday, and it ended up being I didn't have time to go there. And the lady who takes care of the cameras wasn't working there yesterday.
All right. I would definitely reach out. I would maybe try to see the footage first, just to see if you got something that's obvious that you could work with. But either way, I would definitely then take it to
local news. Well, obviously, if it's gonna be good footage, or if it's gonna be like a good story, then like I'll like reach out and try to get it on. I might even contact Jefferson Public Radio, or like some other different places that are NPR affiliates, because I know that they'll put a lot of different things up on like their local coverage. Shit, what was the last thing gonna be? Brain fart.
Don't worry.
Something to do with elections. I remember. Can I talk about like Oregon elections and like ballot initiatives for a little bit?
It's very local, but go ahead. Make it quick though.
Okay.
I'm joking.
There's a ballot initiative.
I'm joking about the very local.
Okay.
Part. Go ahead.
There's two very important ballot initiatives in Oregon. You've got Measure 117, which is going to introduce ranked choice voting. I'm sure that most people know about that.
We talked about this, didn't we? The ranked choice voting, or maybe I was talking with someone else about it. I don't remember.
I don't believe I spoke to you about it, like personally,
okay.
but
Then
I'm sure you spoke to somebody else about it.
There's either someone else who was in Oregon, or there's another state that's voting on ranked choice voting. I clearly remember talking about ranked choice voting, though. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's really going to free us up to be able to do more with these elections. The other one that's really important, let me grab my ballot. I believe it is Measure 119. There it is. Cannabis retailers and processors must remain neutral regarding communications to their employees from labor organizations. And if you vote yes, basically it says that any dispensary or grow operation has to allow labor unions to meet with their employees, and that they have to remain neutral on the topic of their employees unionizing. And like cannabis is a really, really big industry in Oregon. Like I know that interstate commerce with cannabis is difficult, but we are one of the most productive growing regions in the entire world. And if we're able to get this, and if we're able to unionize dispensaries and unionize like people who are growing the pot, like this could be a really solid industry, like to rival logging on the West Coast.
Interesting. So what you're saying is it's good.
It's good. Vote yes on 117 and yes on 119 is what I'm saying.
I'm just messing with you. No, yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't have a problem with as uh, someone who doesn't partake in that. I don't have a problem with it.
Dude, I've been sober for I think 13 days at this point. Maybe it's 2 weeks on the dot, but I've had to be sober, and it's at first it wasn't as fun, but now I'm kind of riding it out.
Mm. Well, stick with it if you want. I don't know. It's up to you.
I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it through the new year. I've got like doctor stuff and other junk, and I don't want smoking pot to get in the way of like
Right.
physical therapy and other junk. But
I hear that.
you have a good time. I'm sure that you've been enjoying pot. I swear to God, getting through election night if Kamala loses sober is gonna be a pain.
I will not be. That's not what I do. So.
Oh.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad if yes, it's gonna be very depressing
Dude,
if she loses.
my
I don't even wanna.
recommendation to
I don't even want to
people.
think about it. I don't even want to think about it.
My recommendation to people: if you've got election sickness, go to bed 7 p.m. the day of the election. Wake up the next morning. 2 days later, ask your friends who won. It's going to be hard to try to
Well,
try to
don't do that.
isolate.
I'm gonna be. You're gonna want to watch me on election night.
I'm sorry, Matt. I can't. I can't. I gotta read a book and go to bed and not think about it, or it's going to drive me up a wall.
I hear you. Whatever you got to do, I hear you. I completely will understand if you don't want to watch.
I'll certainly watch it a few days later because I am sick in a similar way that Emma is.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call as always, Ren. Always appreciate when you call in. Always great conversations.
Sure thing. I
Have
have
a
love
great
for
night.
you, Matt. You're a comrade. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your show. Take care.
I will. I think I will. Bye. All right. I think that's it for the calls. I don't see any. There were people who were on the line but then hung up. I think. How long has I didn't realize how long I went. Oh, it's almost 2 hours now. All right, I'll do one last call. One last call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Matt, can we talk on Skype?
Oh, I'm not opening up Skype right now. I don't want you to. I'm not. What do you want? What's the topic? What do you want to talk about? And I'll go to Skype if we have time.
This is Osama, so
No, I know
that's why I'm saying
exactly.
Skype.
I know exactly. What are you going to talk
I
about?
mean,
Quick. I don't want you to cost money for you because I know you
is
said
that
it.
Balochistan?
Can we do this another day? Because I don't think I can
Sure.
get through that at 12:30 at night. I need to be able to be wide awake and be able to pay attention.
Okay, then I've been noticing that quickly then that there seems to be like more free time at the leftist mafia. So even if like I'm not on, if you could talk about Balochistan a bit, because it seems like there's a lot of like empty space in leftist mafia
Right.
these
No, we've
days.
been we're working. A lot of problem is the election stuff right now. The election is
I
the obvious thing to talk about. It's what people who listen do want, but at the same time, there's like not much really there right now. But
Yeah,
yes,
everything seems to
yes.
have been calcified for the election, so it just seems like you're all waiting for
I,
the donations to come in to talk about
no,
something
no,
in a
no.
way.
I don't do that. Maybe some of them do that.
No, no,
I
no,
would
no,
never.
no, no, no. The people give you topics to talk about, and not in the way of
Right,
like you're waiting for the money, but in the way of
right.
you're waiting for the stuff.
Let's put it this way: anything that's not election stuff, in order for people to give it the attention it deserves, it should probably wait till after the election. I mean, look at this show. I've
Oh,
been
okay,
doing nothing
sure.
but I haven't done my usual interviews and stuff like that. It's just,
Yeah.
and I don't, it's unfortunate that that's how it is, and that there's, but that's just how it is.
So
I
if
don't
it's
want you to call.
after
I
the
don't want to.
elections, then we should actually schedule something.
Right. All right. So I will
Okay,
talk
cool.
to you soon. Okay, Osama. Take care.
Okay, sure. Bye.
I feel bad because he said that last time he had a long call and he didn't realize that he didn't have long distance. Um, if that other caller who was just calling wants to call in because this call was so short, I'll take it. But yeah, be quick. There's not that many super chats, but I'm gonna start reading the super chats. Chargoond with a $10 super chat. Great job, Matt. Great to see you. How do I call in? Thanks. Oh, well, if that was you, I hope you found out. But the number is last chance. Where did I do with the phones? It's gone. I can't find it. It's somewhere here. Here it is. Okay. 646 303 7337. 646 303 7337. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Annie. Erie Fitzgerald.
Hey, Annie, how you doing? What would you talk about?
Well, I just wanted to maybe give a very quick campaign update.
Okay,
That's
sure.
cool.
You're very muffled though. Can you get me? Is it? Are you on speaker? Can you get closer to your mic? It's very muffled.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm on Bluetooth.
Oh, that might be.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you then give us that update quick? I think I can make out what you're. I'm pretty sure I can make out what you're saying now. But
Okay.
but make
Okay.
it quick though.
Okay. So things are looking real good. I asked my incumbent for a debate a couple weeks back, and he said no. So I've been nailing him for that. Yeah.
I mean, why would he? Right? Why would he? He got nothing to lose, right?
You would think, and it was kind of funny because in a article interview last week, he called himself a progressive, and then turned around and started like talking about like policies that are not progressive, and
Oh, give me
then
an
it's a
example.
very
This sounds funny. I want to hear this. Can you give me an example? I love that type of
he,
shit.
well, he was talking about like housing, and one of the things he brought up was how he supported a bill that would allow for more new construction, and I'm like, okay, that's great and all, but that doesn't really help like deal with the issue right now and the like massive homelessness issue we have in the district right now. And I basically came back with, well, we need more social housing, we need more equitable housing, we need more, you know, we need more housing, like, and that's part of it. But we also need to just give people homes. Like, it would actually save, money if we actually gave people homes instead of like trying to take care of them when they're on the street and criminalizing homelessness, because that would actually be more expensive. So, it was issues like that. He doesn't support universal health care. He doesn't support a UBI. And I think that the reason why
What does he support? My God.
I know. I'm like, it's kind of funny because it's like those are very popular policies in the district. So, yeah. I mean, I just don't. I think the reason why he doesn't want to debate is, well, number one, he's too busy doing like going to fancy fundraiser events, and also I just think that his policy, he doesn't really have any policies. other than whatever the Washington State Democratic line is. So I call him a Democrat vote bot, because he basically will just vote along party lines. I'm just trying to give, people a different, more progressive option, and I think he's afraid to actually debate me, actually have a conversation with me, because he knows that my policies are more popular and his aren't. And so, yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. And then at the very end of the article, they mentioned like some of his corporate donors, and I'm just like, thank you. Like, you're doing my job for me. Like, I thought that was great. But we're doing really good. We're on our home stretch. I am planning a universal healthcare die-in in a couple of weeks. And we have a karaoke fundraiser this weekend. Trying to raise some funds so we can get some last minute ads out there. We're working hard. Oh yes, yes. So there's one more thing. There are 4 initiatives right now from an organization called Let's Go Washington. Now, these are initiatives that were brought up or brought into existence by a millionaire hedge fund manager in Redmond, and that is where Microsoft is located, and a bunch of other tech companies are there. And he dumped $6 million into these initiatives, and you got to vote no on every single one of them. He wants to, like, one of them is to cancel out a 7% capital gains tax. There's another one about where they were basically fear-mongering over the government cutting off natural gas, which was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, that's not even happening. It's not a thing. Yes, it is initiatives to 2056, 2109, 2117, and 2124 in Washington State. Vote no across the board. The guy that, like I said, the guy that is funding this dumped $6 million into it. A lot of the signatures are also being challenged. He's being investigated right now for campaign fraud because of the way that they were getting the signatures during the summer. They're all very important things to vote against. One of them is concerning long-term care. I don't have all of the information right in front of me right now, but just vote no on all of the initiatives that start with 2, basically. Is very important because this guy is basically, and his like rich cohorts are basically trying to come in and defund the state government even more. And we gotta say no. Charlie Jimmer is posting about the initiatives in the chat as I speak. So thank you, Charlie, for that. We're looking good. Things are good. I am really pushing hard in these last couple of weeks. I'm still like I've put out like a couple of messages telling people to email my incumbent if they live in my district and demand that he do a debate. Because I think there's still time. And I'm actually putting out a press release tomorrow, basically encouraging people to email him, because all I asked for was a 60-minute online debate. Like,
well, that's too much. You can't expect him to do that. That's too much. No, I'm joking.
No, heaven forbid, you set aside 60 minutes. And the funny thing is that 2 days after he turned me down, he announced a fundraiser on the 29th. So I'm just like, you have time for yet another fundraiser when you're already sitting on over $100,000, mostly a lot of which came from corporate donors, but you don't have time to sit down for a 60-minute discussion on the issues that people care about the most.
All right.
Give me a break.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, let everyone give everyone a reminder about your race really quick, and where they should be if they should vote for you, like where they have to be, and yeah, I want to make sure people know, just in case someone listening is in that district and did not realize that a listener of this show is running.
Yes, so I am in Washington's 38th district. That covers Everett, Marysville, and Toledo. So we're just north of Seattle by about 40 minutes. I am running against an incumbent, Julio Cortez. The last time he won, only because the only other challenger was a Republican. So now he's got a Democratic Socialist challenger in myself. And so we are both running for state representative position 1. So if you are in Everett, Marysville, or Tulare, please get out and vote for me so that I can actually bring about real change to this district and this state.
All right, folks, please do so. I think we need more people who are running these upstart grassroots campaigns, who are everyday, regular, normal people like you and me, who also are very well informed and are progressives. We could use way more of people like you, Annie, in politics. So I appreciate the call. Good luck. It's not, we still have
Thank you.
a little less than 2 weeks, so there's still time to campaign, and let us know how it goes, please.
I will, and just so y'all know, there are multiple Democratic Socialist candidates in Washington. So let's vote for all of us so we can have a Washington State squad.
That would be great. No, seriously. I mean, we have that in New York City. We got a real good DSA contingent in the state Senate and in city council. So the more the merrier, obviously. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, Annie, have a great night.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, folks. I am closing the phone lines because I'm getting exhausted. This was one of my favorite call-in shows. All the calls, even the debate, I think went very well and was very informative and very entertaining, in a sense that you wanted to capture people's attention. Everyone with fantastic calls tonight. Not every night we knock it out of the park with every call, and I feel like we did it tonight. Just a few super chats. Oh, we got another patron as I was live. Andrew Sussman, thank you so much for joining at patreon.com/Matt Binder. Your support is super helpful in helping me grow the show and even just continue doing what I do at all. Like even besides growing, I couldn't do these streams if there wasn't some sort of even low level base of financial support because I got kids and I don't got a lot of time. So everything I do needs to make sense for for me. I would still do it if listen, if it was completely if there was no money at all, I would still do it cuz I enjoy it as a hobby. But like I'm here making sure I get in a good substantial at least 2 hour show in every week, in addition to obviously the majority report and leftist mafia, and I do all that because I'm able to. Otherwise, if this wasn't coming in, it would just be like, oh, I feel like streaming tonight, and I would do it, and then maybe another week I was like, yeah, I don't feel like streaming that night, and I wouldn't do it. So, but that's like the bare minimum. The real goal here is that the financial support is at the point where I'm able to take this to the next level, and I've been trying. We're not there yet, unfortunately, but every single cent you guys give really does help get me there. Um, Chargoon with a super chat. Great job, Matt. Great to see you. How do I? Oh, I read that one already. Chargoon sent another super chat. What's the number to call in? Skype isn't working. Oh, I feel terrible. Chargoon, let me know. Message me somewhere, on Twitter, email, whatever. My contacts are easy to find. If I did not take your call tonight, let me know. You will go right to the front of the line next time. Angelin De Bagashahi with a super chat. Israel does not have the right to exist in its current form. Listen, no, I don't think any country has a right to it. There's no inherent right for a country. I'm sorry. There's just not. And we've seen countries come and go. The names of countries change. The borders of countries change. It happens. It happens. Because there is no inherent right for countries. Rights are for people. And just because the name of a country, the outline, the border of a country changes, the government of a country changes, that does not mean that the people who live there don't have rights, basic human rights. They do, regardless of whether a country exists where they live now that used to be. Chargoon with a $20 super chat. My God, thank you, Chargoon. The CBC has a podcast called The Kill List about a Chargoon, are you Osama? The CBC has a podcast called The Kill List about Baloch human rights activists killed in Toronto after speaking out against the disappearances / extrajudicial killings carried out by the Pakistani government / military. That sounds very interesting. I'll have to check that out. Angelin de Bagashai says, Matt, I stand corrected. I agree totally. I know what you agreed with me. You're a regular. I know who you are. Well, I don't know who you are, but I know where you stand. I know. I get it. Over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Matt Binder. Skylar Profit, subscribe with Prime. Thank you so much. And Valinova cheered 500 bits. Use logic, Matt. Wah, wah, wah. All right, folks. Once again, youtube.com/MattBinder, twitch.tv/MattBinder, patreon.com/MattBinder. The newsletter, which is free to sign up for right now. It'll always be free to sign up for. There'll be a paid aspect to it, but it's always going to be free to sign up for, including now disruptionist.com. Disruptionist.com. Like someone who disrupts. Disruptionist. But it's Baloch, says William Bart. Not Usama's told me so many times, and I always mess it up. I'm sorry. I really am actually. I'm not happy that I forgot how it's pronounced as I was saying it. Um. All right. Majority report tomorrow. Leftist mafia tomorrow. And is there anything else I mean to say? Oh yeah, I'll be at the election night. And the majority report of the election night. And all right, you can tell I'm starting to go now. My brain is starting to shut off. Oh, who do I rate on Twitch? That's what I was trying to think. Who do I rate on Twitch? I always want to spread the love of the raid. We got a good Twitch viewership tonight too. Who should we raid? Let's see. Who's on right now? Who's on and can use the raid? Let's see. Oh, I haven't rated USA Hole in a while. That's a good one. Good suggestion, Valanova. And we got other people saying USA Hole too. Let's do that. USA Hole. So I'm rating USA Hole. Everyone else, I will see you all tomorrow if you watch Majority Report or Leftist Mafia. Have a good night.